Build. Save. We're doing that wrong again. Huddle. Here we go. Ready? Huddle. Save. Build. Sound money. Hey, Jordan, what is sound money anyway?
It's Bitcoin. And Bitcoin only.
Okay. Hey, Garbriel D Vine, you need to write us a ditty. You know, we gotta get our ditty going. We're gonna be getting up there and making fools of ourselves. We have to have some good music to go with it. What do you think? What do you think of the Bitcoin house?
Oh my God, it's incredible. It's really nice to be here. What a job, huh?
Oh yeah, that's all the G.Lady. She did all this. So, you know, hey guys, we're really amateur at this. And like Duarte, you know, we're having fun. We want to develop Bitcoin. And this is kind of, you know, this isn't if you want to come down there and hang out and maybe do a little work. I need help, guys. You know, really do.
Yep.
It's just kind of Eddie and I, and we got a website to develop. We got lots we want to do, but you guys have more ideas than I have anyway. So I wanted to show something. Eddie, I want you to show this black cut. Now I've never seen this. The G.Lady says, "Oh, okay, you got to see this." So pour me some coffee, and I can't believe this. I've never seen this before. It's probably been around for years. I just not out of touch. But now just watch. This cup is black. But as we sit here, can we move the camera down? Oh, there, look what's starting to pop up. Look at that. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's you.
It's amazing. Look at that, guys. Look, and then I turn it around. Let me turn this around this way. I don't want to spill coffee all over everywhere. There's ugly old duck. You know. Because we're in Bitcoin, we have to be in disguise sometimes. Oh, Eddie, I need a paper towel because I made a mess. But at any rate, that's
But what a place, ugly. You guys did an incredible job.
We picked up at the border. It was perfect timing. We got. I thought I was going to be late.
No.
But we got there about 7:15. I walked up there once and nobody was there, and then I walked back and there he was. And so we were perfect timing. And then we drove. Unfortunately, you didn't get to see the beautiful drive.
No.
You wanted because it was dark to Ensenada. But we stopped off at where we're going to have lunch on Saturday of the cruise, La Hogueras. What do you think of that place?
No, the place was great.
Oh.
The food.
Yeah.
I have to say now I learned if they ask you for the spice, don't go high.
Don't go high.
No. Go for 5. You're happy. 4. Don't go for 7.
No, you want number? Just ask for me. They made it spicy. I said, "Oh, I can do it." But you know, you just have to watch the quantity that you have. But it's a really cool place. They make handmade tortillas. I don't know if you saw them make them.
Yep.
The lady right there makes them in front of you, and they make the salsa for you right at your table to the way you want it. You want it medium or.
And the margarita is the biggest margarita I ever saw in my life. You can swim on it.
Okay. And Zezo is not here just to have fun.
But no, it's not vacation.
He's working and he's got a full-time job. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do, or is that kind of a secret?
I think, yes. I cannot say right now. Yeah,
okay,
I cannot.
That's fine. But let's say he works for somebody that probably a lot of you guys know, and I'm so glad he is. He's really finding his way into the Bitcoin community, and that's what this is all about.
No, and I'm getting paid.
Bitcoin working man hat on, and his flashes out more than mine. So anyway.
And finally, I'm being paying Bitcoin.
Yeah.
There
you go. You got an income stream. You just have to hodl it now.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's not how much you make. It's how much you keep, right?
How much you keep. So, and the reason we're having this show, and guys, I sent you an email. The members, I sent you all an email. That email is already outdated. As soon as I sent out the tweet, I sent out the email. I got another email from Eileen. The cruise is sold out. Okay, you cannot even get this morning they had bunk interior bunk rooms for $788. Those are all gone. We have 2 spots open, okay? The priority, all members, I hope you got the email because the first 2 that get them, we're done. That's it. There's not going to be any more. So it just, I mean, you're never going to have a conference like this.
Oh, no.
Because not with the Baja 400, which is just, it's an incredible event. These Baja races, I mean, the Baja 1000 is known as the premier race of the world because it's the number 1, the longest point-to-point race in the world, and the terrain is just nasty. They have these trophy trucks that are incredible. So 2 left. Okay, you got to buy the conference ticket, and then we have to even arrange things differently to get you in because we have 2. I prepaid for the cabins, and I think we have 1 guy can come with. Ideally, we have 1 woman and 1 man sign up, and then because there's a woman that needs a roommate. So that's the deal. I'm having this for that reason. Now, if there is the leadoff speaker, now not the keynote. Keynote, we're going to kind of do we want to do a little memorial for Tyler Jenks.
Yep.
SawCruteez is going to talk about the 10 pillars of Bitcoin. But the lead talk, and if there's, if you can't make it to the conference, and you want to learn what I'm trying to teach you, Zezo's the guy. He's never spoken at a conference before.
No,
but
first time.
He's going to give you the most important information you can possibly have. And I titled his speech, I said, look, if one thing people can take away from this, and we're going to be professional. This is not, we didn't saw 60, but we're going to have more attendees than speakers, but not that many more. I think maybe we have.
It's a 1-by-1 service.
Yeah, we have about, I think, 25 attendees and 12. I don't know. It's but we want to professionally record this. There'll never be another one like it because if we do it again, we'll have to do it. I want to make it much more affordable. I want to make it so everybody. This is the inaugural. There'll never be anything like it. And the ship's going to be packed because they're all coming down here for this thing. And so I knew it would be. But it's going to be fun so much fun for everybody involved. But the number one thing, the way he's the lead speaker is, don't lose your hodl. No. Zezo is going to speak about, the number one thing that I want you to, because if you lose your hodl, you're not in the game.
No. And
you got to start over. And you got to find jobs like from me and from other people in the industry who, Zezo is, he's just a big Bitcoin believer and his heart's into it. And, he wants to work in Bitcoin. And so, anywhere that we can find it to make it work, we'd love to have him because he's a Bitcoin enthusiast and he understands it. That takes time. So it really does.
And more than anything, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And exactly. The second time to start is the hardest, of course, but as I was telling, it's better late than later. So
late than later. Yeah, and the whole thing is, guys, what I'm trying to teach you, it's so elementary, but very few people get it because after you became public about your total loss, you said. How many people said they contacted you privately and they said, I did the same thing and really? Yeah. So, look who's here.
Hey.
Motorist.
Hello.
All right. I'm trying to get both of my motorcycles working so that Bitcoin motorcycle can ride the motorcycles.
Looking forward to it.
I'll be back. I'm going to get some. You guys can talk. I'm going to show you. I got a little something from Mexico I can show you. Maybe you go get it. Where that big fire cat is?
Who's that? Is that Zezo?
Yes. How are you?
I'm doing well, Zezo. How are you doing, sir?
Very first time in Mexico.
Oh, really? First time? I've been many times.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to live in LA, so we used to drive, it's like, I guess it's a 3-hour drive or something. So I used to go to Mexico all the time. I live in New Hampshire now, but it's funny thing is living in New Hampshire, I go to Mexico more now than I did when I was in California.
Did you go to the last Anarchapulco conference? Did you do that one?
No, I didn't. That one was like a few weeks after the Unconfiscatable that we were both at, and I wanted to go, but like last minute I decided not to. Like maybe right before Unconfiscatable, I decided not to go. I've been to 3 Anarchapulcos. I went to the first one. Yeah, and then the 17 one, which I believe you were at, and the 18 one. Those are the only 3 I went to. The first one that I went to, actually, there was a last minute cancellation, so they asked me to be on a panel. So in the very first Anarchapulco, you can see me sitting on a panel with Roger Ver and Brave the World and one other guy talking about the Silk Road. It's still on. If you go to the Anarchapulco channel on YouTube, it's still there. You just type in Silk Road.
Really?
You can see our panel. You can see me and Roger Ver and Julia and one other guy named Mac. Where they're discussing this.
Yeah, I mean, I went the once and it's kind of fun, but they're a little bit. I'm not an anarchist. Number one, I just and I'm not a Murray Rothbard fan, and certainly not a Roger Ver fan. And it's kind of dominated by. It's really not my cup of tea, and where I think to me the future is going to be in the direction that we're going. I think Tone started the pace with his Unconfiscatable, and you've just seen ever since the shift that's happening in these conferences, and that's going to be more and more and more what's going on.
Yeah, well, surprisingly, I would say, I do consider myself an anarchist, but surprisingly, I would say more so the cypherpunk way seems to be the one that makes more sense. It's not about philosophizing about what's the right way to do things and what's the wrong way to do things. The way the cypherpunks, the way they did it is they were all about, we're going to use technology and we're going to circumvent we're going to use encryption and nobody can monitor our communications. We can talk in secret, and I feel, and interestingly enough, a lot of these cypherpunks were, surprisingly, they weren't influenced by Rothbard. Some of them were influenced by Ayn Rand, which is a little bit surprising.
Yeah.
Most of the people that I hung out with at Anarchapulco, they were all Rothbardians, but some of these technologists were more influenced by Atlas Shrugged. It seems like.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, I'm not an objectivist or a big Ayn Rand fan either, but I think, but. I get it. I understand where they're coming from, and so that's. I just. I guess my dad was always a conservative, and I'm becoming conservative. I hate to admit that it turned out to be, but no. I definitely a libertarian, but I do think.
Sure.
And that's where I'm at. So. We'll get more and more to that. I got to complete this article I'm writing because I'm going to be writing about the Bitcoin nation, and I want to screw that up anyway. Because anyway, so yeah, I mean, it looks like the cruise is sold out. I got notified on that Bitcoin Motor, so we have 2 spots left, and that's why we're doing this. I did send an email out to our members, so anybody that hasn't signed up will sign up. There's probably going to be, I think, about 40 of us there with the speakers, which is fine. And, professionally recorded, which I think is more important than anything. And definitely a different theme because we're not selling anything. We're not going to be. We don't have any shit coins. The only thing, and the thing that we're emphasizing is not how to get rich on some kind of a trading system, but how just don't lose your huddle.
Yep, exactly.
That if we do that, convince people that it's Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone, and it's never too late to start.
Nope.
Those are the biggest problems that we have. So I actually have a surprise speaker that's going to come but he actually pointed me to Bitcoin, and he still feels like he missed the boat and has never jumped in. So that's how he's
He was earlier than you, eh?
yeah. So that's why that dollar cost averaging, I think, has had such an impact, as people say, wow, it really does work in the over the long run. Now people are starting to do it. Yeah, if you dollar cost average every day over the last year, this is what happens. If you dollar, it just smooths out. It gives you an understanding of what Bitcoin is really about. You just have to be in the big picture. You got to ignore that small picture.
One thing, in that very first in Acapulco that I went to back in 2015, Roger Veer was a good guy back then. That's where I met Tone Bays for the first time, and I met Roger Veer. And Roger and Tone were awesome friends. It was me, Roger, Brave the World, Tone Bays. We were all hanging out. We were all having good conversations. We were all on the same side. There was none of this animosity. There was none of this arguments between poop coins, crap coins, and Bitcoin. Everybody was a Bitcoiner, and nobody really cared about altcoins. And I remember Roger Veer gave a speech at that conference, and one of the things that he said, which was great about Bitcoin, which I agree with, is that the great thing about Bitcoin, keep in mind, Bitcoin was about $300. So this was February of 2015. Bitcoin's worth about $300 back then. And Roger Veer gets up and gives a speech. He said, look, one of the great things about Bitcoin is that in a few years, there's going to be a whole bunch of anarchists who are millionaires, who are rich because they're in Bitcoin. And we're going to have a lot of influence. We're going to have a lot of say in how things go. And I think that was great that he said that. Now, when you talk to Roger, he's going to say, oh, it's not about getting rich, it's about helping the babies or something like that. I don't understand. I don't understand the appeal of payments. I mean, payments just aren't sexy. I mean, no one ever makes a payment and is like, woohoo, that was so awesome. It's like watching.
No, they're not.
Yeah. Exactly.
And maybe I was talking with Zezo about this last night, and hey, I'm at the conference. I'm from Missouri, so you got to show me some things, okay? And like Bitcoin, I picked up on once I saw it, and I said, if what they are saying is true, then it is the new money. It took me a while to be convinced because it's kind of mysterious, what's in the black box. But once I was convinced of that, then I knew it was the way to go. But I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about last?
About yesterday, we talked about the Bitcoin, about how the payment system.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm not convinced of this on this Lightning Network yet, and I'm open to be taught, and I'm listening. But my argument is just kind of really simple, because I got to keep it that way. I think to be a successful trader, you got to keep it simple. You can have all these algorithms and make all these pretty charts and all that stuff. But really, in essence, it's keeping it simple. You need to trade your equity, don't trade the market. I teach completely different things. What I really don't understand is why, if a centralized spreadsheet is really the most efficient way to communicate, and it is, then I just don't see Lightning is kind of just a duplication of Bitcoin. It's not really going to be, because the key is we really have to, entrepreneurs are going to have to make Bitcoin easy. People don't care about security. And when you're talking about it, the people getting rich, I agree with you completely. Look, I'm down here in Mexico, and people are getting influenced about Bitcoin, and they may not even know about it, Bitcoin, but they're contracting with me because I'm able to contract with them. So that's how Bitcoin, then maybe like Eddie went to work for me. You didn't even know about Bitcoin. I was teaching something. I was teaching in my other business. And I wanted to give him a Bitcoin bonus, but he didn't know what it was. And I said, I would have spent it. And he'd have spent it anyway, which I didn't. I saved, And so, but I gave him a nice bonus and said, hey, I don't want you to, because, I know how it is. I was there. He was always, barring ahead on his pay. I said, now, here's a lump payment. I said, I don't want to be barring. Don't lose this. This is your nest egg for an emergency. So what'd you do, Eddie? Tell your story.
Stupid.
He needed to go open a bank account, so he goes and opens his bank. And the first thing he did, he didn't want to lose that $5,000. He gave it some other idiot that was selling him insurance at the bank. So now he had to. He didn't lose it. He'll get it back in 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, I he did the $5,000 bonus.
If I would have invested it, the
Oh,
following
yeah.
year, I would have made what?
Oh,
70,
yeah.
80K?
Yeah,
I would have spent it.
it was
so.
Yeah.
at that time. It was 2016.
Yeah.
I think Bitcoin was about $500. So he'd have gotten 10 Bitcoin.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Everybody had given Bitcoin to they spend it. They
Yeah, yeah.
When it happens,
Right.
So that's it changes the way you look. And you know what? This conference is as much as for my family too, because it's not in people's mentality to say in the hollow. It just
No,
it's just not.
no, it's not part of a culture. Definitely not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because we've been trained, that we're supposed to invest. We're not supposed to save because, but that's not true. That's only true because of this garbage Keynesianism that we've been having. Saving is actually not a bad thing. It's not. There's nothing wrong with saving. Cheers. Hey, Ugly.
Yeah.
You said something interesting about Lightning Network, and you've heard the phrase that. Necessity is the mother of invention. I think the issue with Lightning Network, by the way, I'm all in favor of Lightning Network. Again, I haven't gotten excited about it. Again, it's not sexy, and it's just because we just don't need it. We have we have our fiat payment system, which works pretty well. It works okay. It's not perfect, but for the most part, it works fine. What was missing in the world until Bitcoin was invented was something that couldn't be inflated away. That was the issue. That was what was fixed.
Or seized from you, taken from you. I just had, down here in Mexico now, PayPal has pulled another good one because they're looking out for us. You have to, your PayPal now, you can't have a balance with PayPal anymore. It goes back to your bank. Well, I know for a fact that that's not, they're not looking after me. They were ordered to by the Mexican Central Bank because they want control of those funds, and they don't want people doing business apart from, the Mexican banking system. So I'm sitting here, it's a PayPal, just PayPal. Although I hate PayPal, and yet you do have to have some kind of a credit card payment system. And
when I was very young in Brazil in the end of the 80s, we are watching TV one day, and out of the blue, the president came on TV and say, okay, we confiscated all your money from the bank. Now you can take $100 a month we're going to give you in Brazil
Wow.
for the next 1 year. So all the money that you had was gone by the president. And then you have $100 to be taking every month. So that's something that if you had Bitcoin would be impossible.
All right.
True. That's very true. But here's the thing: whether they confiscate it directly the way they did in Brazil. What? Sorry.
No, you're on.
Okay, sorry. I said whether they confiscate it directly, like they did in Cyprus, or like they did in Greece, or like they did in Brazil, or whether they confiscate it through inflation, it's still the same result. If they confiscate it through inflation, it's a slower process, but it's still the same thing. They're still stealing your money. It's just that when they do it like they did in Cyprus, people all of a sudden freak out, but they are already doing it either way. So it's unconfiscatable in two ways, because it's not inflatable. And also because it's you can't just call the bank and say freeze this person's account.
No, and what I was telling Ugly, if you by accident ended up in an island and you have Bitcoin and you stay like there for 5 years, you come back, you're richer without any work. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, the best, the one I love is, we update this dollar cost averaging chart every month. That's kind of another job that Eddie does for me every month. And, basically, as soon as I turned 62, I wanted to draw my Social Security because and get it out of the dollars as fast as I could. Of course, as soon as I learned about Bitcoin, that's essentially what I did. And if you dollar average since, the peak in 2000 and January 2014 or December 2013, and put $1,000 a month into Bitcoin, you're a millionaire.
Yep.
It's that simple. Offer your Social Security check.
Yep.
And I just laugh at these quote financial planners, say, well, you got to manage your Social Security and maximize it. You can lose as much as $250,000 in benefits if you don't do it right. I said, well, you know what, guys, try and match my track record. It's not,
well, a lot of those
that.
financial planners only have a job because you can't save money. You have to hire a financial planner because your money is going to be inflated away. If we had a sound monetary system, half those jobs would disappear. The only people who would need financial planners are those who are actually looking to invest funds and not just people who are trying to preserve their wealth. If you want to preserve your wealth, all you need to do is save, and you can't do that with fiat.
No, you can't. So
No.
So, well, no, I'm really excited about this whole thing. We're going to have, I think all the speakers are excited about it too. That's the most important thing. I know everybody that I've talked to, they're working real hard on their delivery. And we're going to have, Thomas Hunt is also Mad Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So he's going to be, he wants to do, record the whole session. We don't know if we'll be able to do it live yet, just because the internet's not that great on ship. It's a satellite system. We certainly will be able to do live from the Bitcoin house here, and we'll have a big open house. And then also Juan Galt, he's coming in Monday, and he wants to do a documentary on this. So I think, yeah. So
Yeah, they knew.
he's gonna do a documentary from the time we leave here,
Okay.
go board the ship, come back, and
Crossing the border.
I'll go to the border and all this stuff. And we'll just see how it goes. I mean, next time if I do this again, I'm really hoping. I mean, my vision was fill up a cruise ship.
Oh,
But I know we've got to get the price down there. I know one of the problems that I had is I priced it in Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin dropped way up, and then, wow, that's really not an expensive conference because
oh no, what are you getting?
Yeah, a lot of these conferences are $1,200 or more, and it's just for the ticket.
Yeah, and we're in a beautiful shape.
So anyway, it's just I was told that these are different. Not an easy thing to do. Is ugly. Don't do it. Don't do it. Well, I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad I'm able. Number one, I'm just glad I'm able to do it.
But what you learned that you don't going to do for the second conference?
Well, it's not what I won't do. It's probably what I want to do is just get more people on board earlier.
Okay.
And so, and make it larger and cheaper. In other words, and probably, what I don't like is have to denominate it almost entirely in fiat, but I'm afraid if that's where we're going. And again, my idea is that, okay, in the long run, I believe that the next wave in Bitcoin is going to be the largest wave and of the longest duration.
Okay.
Okay. Now, we have those steep sell-offs, but they'll recover so quickly. It will be incredible. So, and I don't think, there's no, it will make little sense because we're in a fiat tsunami. And so, what I call Bitcoin is going to provide the monetary transition. The other thing that I foresee, and I might be wrong.
Waiting for John to be over because he.
Yeah, he's going. Oh, that's all right. He's on, and he's live from Honey Badger. Boy, I wish I was at Honey Badger.
Oh,
I wanted to, but I said I knew I couldn't do this. Yeah, no, they're leaving us to go see Tone. I don't blame them. I would too. So, but yeah, I think that the possibility is for these governments to get credibility back. And then if we go into this, hyper Bitcoinization, in order to get the governments get their credibility back, they actually are going to have to go on a gold standard, and they'll actually compete to have because the Bitcoin nation, they might be able to identify who we are, but they still can't get our wealth. So it gives us a little bit more freedom than the rest of the world has, and we can choose our jurisdictions. We have a jurisdiction that's decentralized, and it's a jurisdiction that we can choose at any time to leave or flip off of or anything. But I do think that the real possibility is, and this is kind of what Hayek was positioning, is the Bitcoin can with the government. I think it would be great because the government's competing for liberty and freedom. The more freedom the government, the less oppressive a government is, the more they're going to attract the wealth. And so that's where my hope is. We'll see if we go there or not.
And there is the chance for countries like Paraguay. They're mining Bitcoin.
Yeah, tell us about Paraguay. I wasn't aware of this.
And Paraguay, in South America, we know the government are mining Bitcoin. And I think it's a chance for countries that are not as rich as Europeans or America to have a chance to improve, to grow in wealth. And a country like Paraguay, they have so much rivers that they can mine using all the resource they have. Is a chance for these countries to improve, to get wealth. And it would be great to see a second chance or third or fourth chance for these countries to raise and become as wealthy as America or Europe.
Yeah, and I've heard similar things about, say, places like North Korea even. I mean, if North Korea emerges as a big global economic power, well, no, it's because they've been mining Bitcoin all this time.
Well, they have to have the corresponding freedom, or they're not going to be that global power. You don't need to have the capital and freedom have to go hand in hand. I mean, Spain had all the gold in the world, but they still just, they never could launch America because they had a different philosophy than what America was founded on. So they go hand in hand. But I think what will happen if the governments want to get their credibility back, and a lot of them don't. I was just listening to somebody on the news, one of the Democratic candidates, he's out there literally promising everybody, you can spend your money better than anybody else, and if I'm elected president, you're going to get $1,000 a month. Just think what you. Oh yeah, imagine. There'll be a great big spike in on TV sets.
Hey, wasn't that the problem that was going on Twitter, where we had these scammers on Twitter saying that if you send them like 0.001 Bitcoin, then you would get like 0.1 Bitcoin back, over and over again. It seems like these Twitter scams are now running for president.
But there's anybody running for the president that speak about anything about Bitcoin in America?
Nobody overtly. I mean, it was like 4 years ago, Rand Paul accepted Bitcoin donations, and so a lot of Bitcoiners were kind of donating to Rand Paul and stuff. But he can't keep it as Bitcoin, so it was through I think it was through BitPay. So he had to immediately convert it to fiat when you sent him a donation in Bitcoin. So,
wow,
yeah, exactly.
The difference is, why even do it? So, yeah.
Right, exactly.
In Brazil, there was a guy running for president, João Moedo, but he was he got like a 2% of the vote, and he was publicly talking about Bitcoin. There was a hope that began, like the first time I saw a politician run for the president talking about Bitcoin, but they got 2% of the votes.
Okay. Well, the purpose of this show alone is we have 2 spots left. Okay, the cruise is sold out. I want to sell those 2 spots. We get those done. I got to shut down that website because if people want to come, sorry, we tried to warn you. I knew that the cruise ship would be sold out. I'm kind of disappointed we didn't fully, I thought, I didn't think I'd have any problem getting 60 people, but you know, it's just, that didn't work out. But hey, we're going to have a good conference, and I really like, you know, the setup. These are kind of all new faces. They're not new faces. They're just not on the speaking circuit type of spaces, and it's a different kind of a conference. We're not out here to, you know, I mean, my track record speaks for itself. I'm the only guy I know out there that actually publishes, these are the trades I've done, here's what I started with, and you get all my trades. But that's not what we're doing here. The reason I'm able to do it is because I never have lost my huddle. And that's, you know, if you learn that part, that's why Zezo, I mean, he's never spoken at a conference before. No. He just wants to learn and stuff. But when you shared your experience with 3 people, you said you shared it with me and Tone and somebody else.
And Daisy.
And Daisy. Okay, well, Daisy's going to be there too.
Yep.
And you know, as soon as I heard it, I said, you know, this can be really positive for everybody because you're not alone. A lot of people, they just have never talked about it and how hard it is, because you know how hard it was. You check it, what 0.3 of a Bitcoin, and you run it. You had at one time 3.5 Bitcoin. Yeah, which was a nice little nest egg. Yeah, you know.
That was the problem. Exactly, that was the problem. When you get too confident on you, and you think that nothing gonna hit you, and that's the problem. When you don't get prepared for the opposite, like I will tell the story in the
I'll tell your story later at the conference. Again, get the conference away, but yeah, and you know, Tone tried to warn you.
Oh, the worst, I knew what to do.
Yeah.
So TA is great. Money management is a need, but discipline is something else. Without that, even money management is worthless without discipline.
Right. So, you know, Bitcoin's not a way for quick riches.
Oh, no.
It's a way where you save, and you just have to start. And it's very rewarding in the long run.
Yep.
But it's hard to see it at the time because it's so volatile.
Oh God! And in this industry of trading, especially when you begin and you don't know much, and you see people posting how much 10x, 20x, and Lambo and everything they did. But this month, these guys never say how much they keep. Right. They just say how much they made it. But
and that's why I wanted to point out, for example, on the notational on BitMEX. That can be somewhat deceptive. Now, I was notational in the top 10 on 2017, but I didn't start with very much. And a lot of now, after 2017, after we topped out, some big funds came in there. Now and all of us that were on there, we never revealed who we are, but now they want to because it's kind of a badge. But you know what? If you start with 1,000 Bitcoin and you run it into 1,500 Bitcoin, you know, you really haven't done that much.
No.
No. You really don't know what that notational is telling you. Now, I know there's some old guys up there but you watch those notational swings. That's an important thing to watch too, because those downturn in equity is something that you've got to avoid. But it's really not, if you manage your money properly, if your trading account is just a small part of your huddle, you really don't have to be concerned about that. And that's, you know, if we can teach that, but it's just not sexy. It's like Tone did a special on money management.
Yep.
And tell us about that conference on money management. Compared to his other conferences, what was the attendance?
For me, it was the most important he did. It was incredible nice, but it's the one that less people went.
It's just not sexy.
Yeah.
And I listened to his webinar on money management, and to me, it's like, if you don't know money management, you don't know trading. You got to learn arithmetic first before you can learn calculus. It doesn't make any sense. You have to know the basics first. If you try to learn calculus before you learn arithmetic, you're going to get wrecked. And I think the interesting thing about Tone's money management, his seminar is you can actually apply that to anything. You can apply
exactly.
You can apply it to poker. you can apply it to
Exactly.
to lots of different things. You can apply it to other things as well. It's not just trading. And I think that
running a business.
Oh yeah.
When I started uglyoldgo.com, I mean, I said, it was kind of my way. I want to give back. And I said, okay, I didn't know exactly how to do it, but I said, I got 10 Bitcoin. I'll invest 10 Bitcoin to launch this thing. And it took about that before we started, getting it back. I mean, Bitcoin isn't where it was now. It was lower, much lower, but and that's what you have to do. I mean, on any business, you just, you can't bet the farm.
No.
The goat lady is looking at some property on the beach, and we asked the price. I said, well, you know what? If Bitcoin goes to $100,000, we can look at it, but not now.
It's true.
So it's not the question of where the market is going, but what are you going to do if it gets
exactly
there? That's the important thing. And, and she's been a blessing to me in so many ways because, she'll say she won something, and she usually knows it's when it's time.
Shows you're dreaming.
And so, like I say, the best example I can show is, you can actually, buy Lambo here, sell Lambo there, and you can improve your Bitcoin hodl. And she essentially did that because she wanted an the Raptor so bad, so she bought a Raptor. And then she bought it. It only cost us like 7 Bitcoin. When she sold it for equipment, but the equivalent was about 42 Bitcoin. So she turned 7 Bitcoin into 42 Bitcoin
without trading.
Not in Bitcoin, but in other assets. What I'm talking about. So it's that. So we don't know. I mean, I'm the last guy that'll tell you where the market's going. Except I will tell people this. I think that Bitcoin's getting ready to go into the largest bull market we've ever seen. It's going to be an unprecedented longevity and proportion. So not without some bits of terrifying downsells. It's kind of like the stock market we've seen. In 1980 we had that big crash. It wasn't a flash crash. It was terrifying. You had the same thing happen in 2008. And that's what's going to happen with Bitcoin. There will be things that happen that will, people that buy in on the speculative enthusiasm are going to have a price to pay. And that's why we just always advise people, stick your toe in the water, dollar cost average. By very definition, you will be by arithmetic, and you don't need calculus. You can do it just with arithmetic. You're going to be buying most of your Bitcoin at low prices and not high prices. That's just the way it works. So, Bitcoin Motorist, what are you going to be talking about?
Oh, I'm really excited about my talk. I'm going to be talking about something that it's a conversation that I've had privately with people. But I do think that it's nice to formalize it into a presentation. And maybe in the future, if somebody asks me something, I can maybe just send them a recording. Oh, here's my presentation on the Ugly Old Goats conference. Just watch that, so I don't have to explain it each time. But yeah, I'm to me, going along the lines of the Cypherpunks, where they said, it's all about the technology being able to lead to a freer world, to lead to anti-authoritarianism. I wanted to go through and look throughout history as to how each of these technologies throughout history have led to, slowly through a freer and freer world. And the interesting about it is that if you look at a technology, like let's just say, let's take the printing press, for example. If you look at a technology like the printing press, I can trace the separation of church and state to the invention of the printing press. But the interesting thing about it is that when the printing press was first invented, people didn't say, oh, this is going to bring about the end of church, it's going to separate church and state. It kind of slowly became that over time. So the question I have is, what is it that the invention of Bitcoin brings? What thing that we can't really foresee now, because it's going to be hundreds of years in the future, is going to be the result of the invention of Bitcoin, similar to how the printing press eventually led to the separation of church and state. Now, we still have religions, Ugly is a very religious man himself. No,
I'm not religious. Whoa. I'm a Christian. Religion is created by men. Okay. I think Christianity.
Okay. So
you know, I believe I believe that God literally came to earth, and it's not a religion. It's just it is a belief system. But I would say Bitcoin's more of a religion than Christianity. Christianity, you know,
hey, I can't disagree.
We can go into all that later, but there is a distinction. Christianity is not a religion, but yeah, any denomination certainly is.
Yeah, and it's not just the printing press. You can think of other inventions as well. Like take the Industrial Revolution. What did the Industrial Revolution bring about that we wouldn't have had otherwise? And what was it that caused the Industrial Revolution in the first place? You know, a lot of times people don't think about these things. You know, they say, you know, how did slavery end? Oh, slavery ended because of the Civil War, which is completely ridiculous because most countries, almost every other country ended slavery without fighting war. The United States was the only country that fought a war to end slavery. So my question is, what actually ended slavery? Why is it that everybody all across the world at the same time decided slavery was bad? It wasn't because they woke up one day and realized slavery was bad. It was because it was no longer feasible. It's no longer economically feasible to have slavery. That's why it ended, not because people suddenly woke up one day and realized it was wrong. And I'd like to see what's the next step. What liberty is Bitcoin going to bring about? That's what I'm really, really excited about, and I want to talk about.
That's a really nice talk.
Yep, well, that's good. Well, the one thing that it's brought about is your wealth is outside of any state jurisdiction, which gives, you know, basically it makes man sovereign, okay? And, you know, at least in his financial life. You're not sovereign in that you can choose who you are because somebody decided that, but somebody knew us before we were born. But, and that's my only reservation, and it's only a mild one, is that Bitcoin is a creation of man. I just, you know, in that sense, I don't want to become a religion where it becomes almost an idol, because there is, you know,
A cult?
well, it probably is a cult.
It's already.
I don't think anyone can argue with that, but it's not. You know, it is a creation of man, and it's useful. That's the whole thing. And, you know, for example, you know, science is useful, but science is not true. You know, so it really comes down to the matter of what's true.
Isn't there a thing called Scientology or something like that?
Oh, yeah. That's Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Well, we know Scientology is very bad. But yeah, but, you know, science is very useful. Science can, you know, tells us how to build guillotines, but it doesn't tell you who to kill, you know. So that's how do we decide who to kill? And I believe that, you know, I do believe that's been divinely revealed. So at any rate, we're not going to go there quite yet. And everybody at the conference is going to have a different view. We all do, but that's what makes it so cool. It's like I say, it's a voluntary thing. You don't have to have Bitcoin, and you can live without Bitcoin. But
now,
going to be influenced.
Now,
yeah, but you're going to be influenced. Like a lot of people you know, people that are out work, Eddie didn't understand about Bitcoin, didn't even know I was into it for the first year or two.
Yeah,
it was a different business.
Yeah.
It was just two different things, and I really. And he wasn't ready for it. And that's the other thing too. I think a lot of us learned early on, we were so excited about it. I used to give it away, you know, but it was kind of foolish to give it away. It was much better that I knew what it was. I should have kept it because I'm a better steward of Bitcoin than somebody else that doesn't understand it. And as you become knowledgeable in Bitcoin, then you become a good steward of it. And that's what Zezo, his goal is, I want to be a good steward of Bitcoin from now on. You know, I made my mistake and you learn from it. So that, you know, if there's one thing we can learn from this conference, Zezo's got the most important lesson. Don't lose your hodl.
No, don't keep it. But I think I know everybody I know that is in Bitcoin. The first time they heard about Bitcoin, they didn't grasp as well. It takes a while for you understand how big it is, how important it is. And unfortunately, we have all these shit coins to get on the way. That the promise they give is incredible. They have all this promise that they cannot keep with. But a lot of people fall for that. So it's not just you can lose your Bitcoins trading, but you can swap your Bitcoins for something that is worthless.
Or just buy something worthless.
Yeah.
And just always figure, well, I missed, so you're always looking for the next new Bitcoin. That's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
If you're always looking for the next new Bitcoin, then you never really, realize what Bitcoin is.
I mean, these guys have, what a job they have.
And that's what's so disappointing. That's like why Roger Ver is such a big disappointment, because the competition is on the standards.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to be competing standards. It's just, that doesn't mean that something better than Bitcoin can't come along, but it's real simple. If it's the longest chain under proof of work, then okay, then you're better than Bitcoin. But until you meet that standard, don't talk to me.
No, for me, just Bitcoin was so fair. The distribution of Bitcoin was incredible fair. Like Ethereum, there are so many pre-mined tokens. So already, just for that is unfair. So I believe that there's no argument, but people keep falling for it. And these people be sure to say, okay, give me your Bitcoin and I give my token exchange to you. So what exchange is that? So,
okay. Well, we're done. Like I said, the only reason we got on today is I wanted to sell. We have 2 spots left. Hopefully by the time we get off, those are done. Then I'll be taking down the website because I don't want people to say, oh, I want to go on the cruise. And I know that's going to happen. People at the last minute, oh, I'm free now. Well, I knew that this cruise would sell out because of this race. And the only reason it wasn't sold out earlier, it's an inaugural race. They've never had a 400 before. But we'll never be able, if I do this again, it will never be during a race. So this is going to be rough. This will be maybe a little bit deceptive because if it's, I'm going to go on the Working Man's Bitcoin cruise and think there's a race involved too, and there will never be again because those cruises are always full. So we'll have to do one when it's off season. We can probably get better rates, lower the price of the conference ticket, get, maybe have a bigger revenue stream and have bigger names come in and all that kind of thing.
You have to bring Tone.
Yeah. Well, I think, and he's already doing so much stuff. Incidentally, I need to plug for you guys that aren't going on this cruise. Tone is having his Bali summit, and for some reason, I got invited to go. Man, it's a Bitcoin, whole Bitcoin to go with a minimum. If Bitcoin drops, it went $9,000. So you know what? If you're not qualified, don't go. And I'm not exactly sure what we're going to be doing there, except Tone pretty well screened some of the top traders in the world. I know I've met Ben Zen. I've seen Willie Wu. I haven't really met him yet, so I'll be meeting
SawCruteez.
And SawCruteez will be there. So, and there's others that will be there. So I guess it's pretty well sold out. So, I mean, and that's the whole thing. People that, there are a lot of wealthy people in Bitcoin. And incidentally, that's the other thing too, is that I want to emphasize it in this conference. And I emphasize it to my wife, who wants to be, for example, a fashion designer or anything that you want to be. We Bitcoiners are going to be setting the standards and the culture of the world in the next generation. I won't be here for that, but it's very important because we're going to be loved, we're going to be hated. We're also going to be looked up to. So we will be setting the standards of fashion, culture, and all of these things. And so it's very important that you build yourself a reputation within the Bitcoin community because that's where the wealth is. You want to be a fashion designer. You're not going to make it by selling T-shirts. You're going to make it by selling wedding dresses for $30,000 or $40,000. The very highest quality type of work. And the same thing. That's why Cucina Chef is coming, because he wants to get into Bitcoin. He's an internationally known chef throughout the whole world, and yet he's not ever used Bitcoin. He's cooked for the Dalai Lama. This is where if you are telling, hey, you want to get into Bitcoin, you don't have to be a developer.
No.
If you're a master chef, You just need to get on the Bitcoin standard.
Yeah.
You know, if you're good at washing cars, you need to get on the Bitcoin standard. If you're a dentist here in Tijuana and you know,
Ensenada.
or Ensenada, well, we're kind of famous for dentists because you can get your dental work here done for about a third of the price of what you can do in the United States. And it's the same dentist that's practicing in San Diego or LA is coming down and doing the work here in Mexico. But they have socialized medicine in Mexico, but not on dental work. So they kind of have a free market in dental work here. So.
It's time for any bartender to create a Bitcoin cocktail. Like we need that.
Yeah, Bitcoin cookbook. There's just all kinds of things that are possible.
Ugly, you were saying that people are going to look up to Bitcoiners for fashion tips. Do you think along the lines of Saifuddin, Amos's book, do you think that classical music is going to make a comeback because of Bitcoin, because of sound money?
Yeah, yes, I do. And what he argues that you just have a longer time frame. Of course, part of that time frame was because the artists at the time had sponsors, and so those were the people that. So in that sense, yes, I do. But also what might be happening, it's going to be a double fold thing because there's going to be martyrs in the Bitcoin business too. And like we're a nation, and that's the other thing I want to emphasize is that we will, in a sense, be watching each other's backs. And we were talking about, you know, like the developers themselves, they can't, I mean, I have a public presence to some degree, Zezo does, you do, but the developers that are back there, they really don't, you know, they don't want even a public presence of who or what they are because they can be so easily targeted. And we're targets too, but we also have to, we just have to recognize that that's going to be part of, you know, we're still going to be the cowboys. You know, and cowboys set the fashion.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, yes. Will they have a longer time frame? Well, yes, of course, because you know, to me, the greatest era of classical music, at least in my lifetime, was actually generated because of the Vietnam War. Almost all of the classical rock we look at now came out of, you know, between 1960. It started with, I think, the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper.
That's the start.
Popular, and then moved on from there. But most of your rock and roll, classic rock and roll, evolved in a very time of turmoil. So, in that sense, you know, I see the turmoil ahead, and Bitcoin is going to be the solution. So there will be heroes and villains in Bitcoin, and there's going to be a lot of stories written about.
But that's the only way I like about the shitcoins. They took so many people away from Bitcoin that I'm glad it's not in Bitcoin. Roger's out, Craig is out. So there is a little bit good things about the altcoins for clean the way from the bad people. But this long view that go to economic and going to be, as Saifuddin says, that go to your day-by-day life, I think you're going to help a lot more just than the economic part of like you have a long period of view, like how you see your partners, your family.
That's why I think it's important. I think you particularly see that if the governments respond rather than inflating and confiscating, but they resurrect the gold standard. Because if they resurrect the gold standard, they will then what will evolve from that just automatically is going to be more freedom, basically in regard to the pursuit of happiness. You know, in our Constitution, in the United States, originally the word was property, not pursuit of happiness. And they changed it to pursuit of happiness because the anti-slavery forces said, we do not want that to be applied to slavery. That from the very beginning, they knew that slavery was an issue in the Constitution. It was a compromise. So they actually substituted the word property for pursuit of happiness. Had there not been slavery at the time that the Constitution was written, it would have said property. So I think that's very, very important because if we go back to if governments recognize a universal standard, and the only one that will be universal is gold, okay, and then that's going to that acknowledges the right to private property, and this nonsense that we're going to inflate the money and give everybody $1,000 a month for the next year, which some Democratic president was promising last night. I guarantee you, just even talk like that just makes you cringe, and you want to go out and buy more Bitcoin or gold because it's where, unfortunately, it might be where we're headed. I don't think so, but I don't have hope for the United States. I have hope for Bitcoin individuals throughout the world, and that's why I say Bitcoin is not. It's not just a Bitcoin nation, but Bitcoin is the new America. It's the new America.
I love that saying. Because America is an idea. To me, it's not just a government and a state. It's an idea. I love that saying.
And I want to address that because I want to hit these, the alt-right and the nationalist movement too. There's, America is an idea, and it's not in all countries in the past have been tied to the land. Bitcoin has no land. The only thing that we defend is Bitcoin, and it's completely decentralized. So, and you can succeed at any time. I mean, you can also apply, and every step of the way. I've been so busy. I haven't been able to work on my article. So, hopefully this weekend I can just focus and get it done. But anyway, hey, thanks for coming on, Bitcoin Most. I think we covered it, and hopefully we sold those last 2 tickets, and I don't have to worry about any more promotions and we do this again. It won't be this time of the year. We got to set up an off time of year when we can really, and then we get all done. You guys are the ones who are going to be carrying this conference. So I'll be listening to your ideas how we can do it better, because we have to make it a profitable enterprise. I can't subsidize it forever, but I'm glad to do it this time. I just want to set a stage for a different kind of conference, kind of where the tire meets the pavement. Now, we're all Bitcoiners. We're not geniuses. We're average people, in the business.
Working man.
Average Joes. Some of us, work. You just quit your job and you're starting to work full time now on Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Where were you working before?
I work in a bacon factory.
A bacon factory.
Oh, yeah.
Did you kill the pigs or what?
No.
It's a bacon factory.
Oh God, is a very funny place to work because, basically you work in a freezer, and you have your whole day from 8 hours. You're trying to shape piece of the meat,
So you have big pork bellies.
Oh yeah,
Are they frozen or are they thawed out? Or?
Oh no, depends of the day. Some days you're in the frozen area. Sometimes you're in the frying area. But doesn't matter what. If in the end of the day you're going to be covered in fat. That I tell you.
Okay, so you cook the bacon there too, or?
Oh no, I never did that part. That the woman were doing that part.
But you fry the bacon.
They did.
What was it, a kitchen or what? It's already.
Oh no!
Bacon, they sell
no, I'm talking a 30 meters machine that you just slide, and then by the end is everything fried and crispy. But that was one of the more for the girls doing. We're like the one taking the fat away or shaving. Oh,
Shaving is hard.
I'm talking about is a job that was like maybe 400 people working there, and we are all. You just see the eyes of the person with the uniform you have. They have the idea to put music as loud as possible, and nobody spoke English or Dutch. So everybody's yelling each other in different languages. So it was a different job.
When I was about 20 years old, there's a little town called Weston, Missouri. It's in Missouri, but has the only bourbon whiskey west of the Mississippi, and it had McCormick's distillery there. But there's a bunch of Kentuckians that moved to Missouri, and of course that Kansas and Missouri, that was a big. They call it Bloody Kansas. A lot of Civil War stuff happened there, but these Kentuckians moved into Missouri, and they brought in tobacco. They raised tobacco. And one of the reasons that slavery was so important to have slavery back then too, when they moved
Tobacco,
in,
right?
is because of tobacco. Well, now it's all regulated and you only have so many little lots, but since I was there and I just wanted to see what it was all like, I worked in the tobacco fields. And that was the nastiest, dirtiest, stinkingest work because this tobacco is
Just leaves, right?
It's sticky. It gets all over you.
There's no shower going to clean that.
No. And then you had I've never been so dirty. There's an old movie, I think it's called God's Little Lake or something, with a bunch of crazy, but when we were done and we'd all start getting the whiskey and we'd get drunk, then we started fighting each other. We were rolling wrestling. It was fight, it was a friendly fight kind of thing, but it was just, it was an amazing thing. And of course the slavery was gone.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, once they freed the slaves, all the black people left. There's no black people living in Weston anymore. It was all redneck. But it was the dirtiest, nastiest job. I've worked a lot of, I used to think pouring concrete, so I used to do that. And that was hard. Or digging ditches. I used to dig ditches, all these things I've done. But the nastiest, dirtiest, hottest work I ever did was at tobacco farming.
Really?
Yeah, cutting it and hanging it. Just nasty.
I can imagine.
All right. So anything else? I think we're done.
Yep.
We covered absolutely nothing except about Bitcoin. Hey, thank you, Bitcoin Motors, for
Thank
coming
you.
on. And I guess we ought to do our little shuffle.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Are you ready? There we go.
Huddle, huddle, huddle. Save, save, save. Build it. Sound money. Sound money.
Come on, guys. Bye. Oh, thank you.